Guys, so let's talk about this Eli Lilly trade that I have officially closed out today. I got into this thing yesterday, and in my Patreon, I shared way that morning because we already know Eli Lilly had a very nice $100 run up when they had their earnings. And what happens when we get those types of runs, right? People finna start taking profit. They want their money. This thing can start coming down because a sell-off is taking place from such massive run. And so one of the things, first off, Eli Lilly is a beast. That thing moves very nicely. It's one of those ones that I put into the category with Tesla, AVGO, and also MicroStrategy, where it has a nice volatility to it that it moves in nice, and I mean very nice size increments, okay? And it's not a beginner's play. In my Patreon, I know a lot of the individuals there are either new to the game or they're not risking a whole lot. But let me say this now, if you saw my little miniature overview that I did of selling off my first contract, I did risk more than 50% of my account. This trade cost $6,800 to enter. I got 3 contracts on this thing. I sold one yesterday before the market closed, and I sold the final 2 on today. And I want to take you guys to the charts and show you guys exactly what I was looking at, because this is the post that I put in my Patreon and pretty much giving everyone a rundown and say, hey, these are the levels that I want you guys to watch. If this thing can come back to that $1,008 level and hold up, there's a possibility that we could see this thing start to push back up. I didn't get in at 1,008. I got in 1,011, and I wrote this thing up, and it has been a really, really great trade. Simple. I didn't have to hold it too long. I didn't have any plans of holding it too long, but I did hold it, and I sold out the last 2 today. So what I want to show you on the charts really quickly is just pretty much what I was looking at, the levels I was looking at, and that massive gap that they left us with. So let's go back to earnings when they had their earnings. I'm going to go to the 30-minute time frame so we can take some of this off. I'm going to go to regular trading hours so that we can see only when the market was open to look at that gap that they left us with. Okay, so this was earnings that took place on February 4th, all right, which was Wednesday. You guys see that gap, right? Let's look at how big this gap is, first of all, and just how massive of a opening they left us with. So we go from here to this point where it jumped up. That's about a $58 gap. But the run up that took place after earnings took place, let's go up to this very top. It was approximately $103.46, which is about a 10% jump. Okay, very, very nice move. And to be quite honest with you, I was expecting this with Lilly. As far as things like the weight loss drugs, and they're also one of the ones that has officially hit $1 trillion market cap. And we know that that $1 trillion number is reserved for the tech bros. Eli Lilly is one of the first and pharma companies to even hit that. So a lot of things that I've been watching with this thing, long term and short term, but mostly long. So let's look back at this. When you have something like this happen, people are going to begin to take profit. And because of the massive increments that Eli Lilly moves in, I was confident that we would get that gap filled. And so I said, even if it doesn't happen in full or in one day, it will most definitely happen over the next 2 days or next 2 trading days, okay? And so I was like, all right, this is what my plan was going to be. Once they filled the gap, I wasn't looking to play it to the downside in terms of getting into puts just yet. But I said, if we can get back down to about 1,008, that, and they hold up there, that is where I will be potentially looking to make my. I was actually looking to see if they would come back to about 1,008 and about 1,004 and as low as $9.95. But to be quite honest with you, I was not expecting it to go that low. And I'm gonna show you why I said 1,004. You guys see we got this little overkill from 1,008 right here. That price is 1,004.19. Now that 9.95 was from here, so it's actually 9.93 right there. But this is where I was looking to see them bring it back to, was around there 1,004, and we had that overkill down there where it went to 1,005. And so I see here we got this wick, and it knocked this thing right back up. And so I didn't make a move at that 1008. I got in once we got to around 1011, and then I started going up. Now I was watching this thing on the 5 minute time frame. Okay, and so let's zoom that out, and we're going to come up here. What I wanted to see was that the next candle would close above the candle that held the 1008 before I made a move, which was on this candle here at around $1,011. And I rolled this thing up. I sold the first contract at about $1,022. And then I held the others until today. And then you guys see here, we got hit with another upside gap or a gap up. And that's where I sold my last two contracts right around this little top here where I had my take profit set at about $1,055. Okay. This was an absolutely amazing trade. It wasn't from, any particular setup or anything. This was mainly a levels play, reacting to the levels, kind of taking note of this gap that we had and the way that that thing came up and it came back down. They filled that gap very, very fast. And then we got to moving that to the up. This right here was my Eli Lilly trade. It definitely requires a nice little account size to be able to do, unless you're going further out of the money. Eli Lilly is one of those ones where those premiums are car notes and mortgages. Okay, so definitely be sure that you have some confidence there. And I know this isn't a newbie trade, but I definitely wanted to share it with you guys to kind of show you that sometimes all trades are not from particular setups, and it's also not from any particular pattern that I talk about a lot, pattern recognition, any of that. This was simply using, I also had my RSI, by the way, set up on this thing here. And so it was a number of things there that I kind of used, and just kind of watching those levels and also taking into consideration once that gap got filled, they could hold this thing and we can go back up. All right, so that was that. That was that on that chart. With that, I will see you guys on those charts.